I never craved their validation. At least that's what I told myself every morning as I stood in my corner office, gazing out over the Seattle skyline. The gentle buzz of the city filtered through the glass walls, a steady hum of life moving forward without me. Then an email pulsed on my screen. It was from my older sister. "Dad lost his job. Mom's medical bills are drowning us. I know you've got your own expenses, but if you can help at all." A laugh slipped out of me, brittle and humorless. If only they knew. 12 years ago, I was just 16, standing in the cramped living room of our townhouse in Tucson, Arizona. My acceptance letter to the California College of the Arts sat on the coffee table. My father's face was thundercloud dark. "Art? That's not a real career, Elena." He waved the letter like it was infected. "You're going to waste your life chasing nonsense. Grow up." My mother hovered near the window, silent and faded. She rarely spoke up when he exploded. "I've got a partial scholarship," I murmured, "and I've saved from tutoring and summer jobs. It's enough." "No," he snapped. "You're going into nursing like your sister. End of discussion." But for the first time, I said it. No. That single word cracked something open in both of us. His face flushed, fists clenched at his sides. "Then get out. Think you're so independent? Prove it. Just don't come crawling back." That night, I crammed thrift store clothes into an old duffel bag. My sister Isabella stood in the hallway, wide-eyed. "You're serious?" "I have to be. I can't keep living a life that isn't mine." As I zipped up my bag, my mother slipped in quietly. She didn't say much. She never did. But she pressed a small object into my palm, a faded velvet pouch. "Your Tia Sophia wanted you to have this when the time was right. I think that time's now." Inside was a delicate silver pendant and a tiny folded note taped to a small brass key. A safety deposit box key. I read the letter later that night, holed up in a cheap motel outside Phoenix. "Elena, if you're reading this, you've taken the first step toward becoming who you were born to be. I'm proud of you already. Open the box when you're ready. Inside, you'll find what you need to begin. With all my love, Tia Sophia." In that moment, I knew I'd never return. The next morning, I stepped into Puget Sound Credit Union, my fingers trembling as I handed over my ID. The safety deposit box wasn't large, but what lay inside seemed impossibly vast. A few pieces of antique silver jewelry, stacks of neatly bound documents, and a letter addressed to me in Tia Sophia's looping script. The note unraveled a secret. My aunt hadn't just been a hobbyist who collected pretty trinkets. She'd been a serious antique dealer in the 1940s. She'd been quietly building a hidden legacy. The silver pieces weren't cheap souvenirs. They were genuine Art Nouveau and early Art Deco designs, rare and exquisite. They'd been carefully passed down, one quiet generation after another. Take these to Marcus Webb at Pioneer Square Antiques. He'll know their true worth. My knees nearly gave out when Marcus finished his appraisal. The pieces in the box were valued at over $430,000. But that number wasn't the most life-changing part. Marcus tilted his head and studied me. "You have an eye for detail most people never develop. Ever thought of learning the trade?" That was the spark. Marcus took me under his wing, teaching me everything: how to authenticate metals and stones, how to read provenance documents, how to negotiate in hushed tones at auctions, how to spot hidden treasures buried in dusty estate sales. I was hooked. By 19, I'd launched a small online store for vintage jewelry. By 23, I opened my first brick-and-mortar boutique in Capitol Hill. Now, at 28, I own a chain of private antique galleries across the West Coast. My personal net worth? Over $14 million, and not a single headline printed my name. My family still believed I worked odd retail jobs. They thought I rented a tiny studio apartment somewhere in Spokane. I preferred it that way. Crux. Quiet growth. Until that email from Isabella. Dad's job is gone. Mom's drowning in hospital bills. Could you help, even just a little? I stared at the message, then picked up my phone. Hey, Isabella, bring Mom and Dad to my office tomorrow. Your office? Like the consignment shop you used to help out at? No, my real office, Columbia Tower. I'll text the address. She laughed uncertainly. Columbia Tower? You can't just walk in there pretending. I smiled, glancing at the sweeping city views outside my windows. I bought Columbia Tower outright last spring. Trust me, Isabella, they'll let me in. Just be there at 9 a.m. and tell Mom and Dad to bring every page of their mortgage paperwork. I hung up and turned back to the window. Tomorrow, they'd finally see what I'd built. Tomorrow, everything would change. The next morning, I stood at the window of my office, top floor of Columbia Tower, watching as my family's weathered blue SUV pulled into the private entrance below. Even 30 stories up, I could sense the uncertainty in their movements. A uniformed security guard stepped forward, guiding them past the main lobby to the executive elevator, reserved for only a handful of occupants. A gentle chime from the intercom broke my focus. Miss Vasquez, your family has arrived. Send them in. The moment they crossed the threshold, I saw the shock ripple through them. My father froze in the center of the sleek office, eyes darting over polished walnut floors and floor-to-ceiling windows framing a sunlit Seattle skyline. My mother clung to the doorframe, her gaze sweeping across the space in stunned silence. Isabella stood stiffly behind them, blinking rapidly. They'd expected a cramped consignment shop, a shared workspace at best. Not this. Elena, my mother whispered, voice trembling. What is all this? I gave her a gentle smile. This is my office. Welcome to Vasquez Fine Art and Antiquities. My father's expression darkened, cycling from confusion to indignation to rage in seconds. No, he barked. You work retail. You live in a tiny apartment. I stepped closer to a glass case, tapping lightly on the surface. Actually, I'm the CEO and founder of the largest private antique brokerage on the West Coast. Columbia Tower? Isabella stammered. Belongs to me, I finished softly. Technically, the property is under the firm's name, but since I own the firm, it's mine. That's when my father exploded. You kept this from us? We're your family! I cut him off. You're the ones who threw me out, remember? Don't come crawling back. I didn't crawl. I built. I walked back to my desk and sat down. Now let's talk about your mortgage. I opened my laptop, clicked into my business dashboard, and slowly pivoted the screen toward them. Since we're being truthful now, here's my current balance. $14,236,524. My mother let out a sharp gasp. My father's fingers whitened around the arm of the leather chair. Isabella dropped the folder she'd been clutching. I slid a thick file across the desk. This is why you're here. You're 3 months behind on your mortgage. Foreclosure proceedings have started. Isabella blinked rapidly. How? How do you know that? I didn't flinch. I own a controlling stake in Cascade Trust, your mortgage lender. I know everything. I turned my gaze to my father. Your risky day trades, Mom's medical bills, then to Isabella, and your condo flip in Fremont, completely underwater. For a moment, the room was painfully silent. Finally, my father's voice scraped out. You knew we were drowning and said nothing? I rose slowly, placing both palms firmly on the cool rosewood desk. Do you remember the night you told me to leave? Don't come crawling back when you fail. Those were your words. We were trying to protect you, he protested. No, you were trying to control me. That's not the same thing. I walked over to the vast window, the Seattle skyline blazing with sunlight. 10 years. No help, no faith, just me, my instincts, and the key Tia Sophia gave me. My mother's eyes snapped up. Sophia? What did she give you? Faith, I said, turning back toward them. She believed in me when none of you did. She knew I'd build something real. I let my gaze sweep across their stunned faces. Every holiday you mocked me. Still playing with antiques, Elena? Come work as Isabella's assistant, Elena. Isabella dropped her eyes to the floor. But now that you've seen my bank account, suddenly I'm family again? My father sat up straighter, slipping into his business tone. We can talk about all this later. Right now, we need to... I cut in, raising my hand. Before you say anything else, let me show you something. I pressed a discreet button on my desk. Behind me, the massive digital screen embedded in the wall flickered to life. Bank statements, property deeds, loan defaults, investment records. One by one, file windows blossomed across the display. This, I said steadily, sweeping my hand toward the glowing screen, is everything. Every loan, every debt, every bad decision. The total amount to wipe the slate clean and stabilize everything is exactly $2,400,000. My father's eyes flickered with something I hadn't seen in a decade. Hope. Isabella's lips parted, caught between disbelief and relief. My mother reached out, brushing her fingers lightly over the back of my hand. I pulled away gently. I've had that money set aside in a reserve account for years, I continued. Every time the foreclosure letters came, every time things spiraled, I was watching, waiting. Waiting for what? Isabella whispered. To see if any of you would change, if you'd take responsibility, but you never did. I crossed the room and sank back into my desk chair. Instead, you borrowed more, mortgaged the house again, blamed bad luck. Here's what's going to happen. I'll clear every debt, I'll save the house, and I'll set up a trust to keep all of you financially secure. Voices burst out in overlapping relief. I lifted my hand again, and the room fell silent. But there are conditions. The air went still. First, Dad, you retire. No more stocks, no more crypto schemes, just rest. You've earned it, but you've cost us enough. His jaw clenched, eyes dropping. Second,
I turned to Isabella. You're dissolving the failing Fremont condo project. Then you'll enroll in the music therapy program you once dreamed of before real estate swallowed you. Isabella's eyes widened, a single tear slipping free. She hadn't spoken of that dream in years. Third, I said softly to my mother, you're finally opening the bookstore near Green Lake. I'll fund it. My mother gasped, eyes shining. That dream had been shelved 3 decades ago. And finally, I said, looking at each of them, we're going to therapy, weekly, together, because this isn't just about money anymore. My father inhaled sharply, ready to protest, but my mother placed a gentle hand on his arm. Robert, she said softly, all of it. I nodded once and pressed the intercom button. Jasmine, bring in the contracts. These documents make everything official. Take them home. Read every line. They nodded, still rattled. As they turned to leave, I spoke once more. And Dad, that thing you said 10 years ago about me crawling back when I failed? He turned, his face tangled with guilt, pride, and regret. I never failed, I said quietly. I just succeeded without you. They left without another word, the silence trailing behind them like a shadow. I stood at the window, watching their SUV merge into Seattle traffic. Moments later, Jasmine stepped in and set a cup of chamomile tea on my desk. You okay? She asked gently. I paused, thinking of those lonely nights working until dawn, the empty holidays, the moments I doubted everything. Then I thought of this peace, this clarity. Yeah, I said finally, a small smile tugging at my lips. I think I finally am. The next morning, they returned with signed documents, tentative smiles, the weight of a different future hanging between us. It didn't change everything overnight. Years of silence and wounds don't disappear with a signature, but it was a start. My father, truly retired this time, apologized to me one quiet morning over coffee. I didn't cry, but his words cracked something open. My mother opened the Violet Finch Bookshop in Fremont, a cozy place between a record store and a coffee roastery. Locals love it. So does she. Isabella dissolved the condo project and enrolled in music therapy. Now Isabella teaches at a community center in Ballard. Her laughter doesn't sound forced anymore. As for me, I kept building, but no longer in hiding. No more shrinking my world. No more pretending to be small so others felt bigger. Because real power isn't proving people wrong. It's proving yourself right. On my desk sits Thea Sophia's old jewelry box. Inside is the one piece I never sold, a simple gold locket with her photograph tucked inside. On the hard days, I open it and read her note again. True art isn't just about creating beauty. It's about recognizing worth where others see none. She was right. And the rarest treasure I ever discovered was my own worth. If my story resonates with you, drop a comment below. Tell me your moments of choosing yourself. Share if you've ever had to walk away from those who didn't believe in you. This isn't just my story. It's for anyone who's been underestimated. I didn't share this for pity or praise. I shared it because we're often told to shrink ourselves to keep others comfortable, because ambition is labeled defiance instead of growth. My advice? Don't wait for permission to become who you're meant to be. Choose yourself, even when no one else does. For those still in the fight, keep going. The loneliness won't last forever. Your work matters. You matter. One day, when those who doubted you finally see what you've built, you won't need their validation.
You'll already have your own. My name is Elena Vasquez. I'm an art dealer, a founder, a woman who once stood in a cheap motel room with nothing but a silver pendant and a dream. And that pendant, it's still around my neck, right next to my heart, a reminder that the rarest treasures aren't found in auction houses. They're found in the moments you choose yourself. Thanks for listening, and remember, you don't need their approval. You never did.